Gamer, and I'm here playing one of my favorite survival games of all time. Anyone who knows me knows that I really, really enjoy a good survival game. One where you start with nothing and you build yourself up, and by the end you have everything. So I've played this game quite a bit. It's not exactly a well-known game to a lot of people, but I have played a lot, and I've picked up a lot of information and tips and help, because this game doesn't really explain a lot to you. There are logs and things you can read that can help. So I understand the lore, so I will explain things as I go. To start with, you are on a ship and you crash land, or you heading to a planet 4546b, and something happens. You eject your life pod. That part will be shown here in just a second. The good thing about this game is you can make it as difficult, or kind of like Minecraft, where you can go creative mode, where you basically can build anything you want anytime you want with unlimited resources. One where you have one life. When you die, it completely erases your save file, and that's it. Freedom, where you play, you only have to worry about oxygen and your health, obviously. And then, of course, survival mode, which is your standard mode, where you have to feed, you have to eat, drink water, worry about your health and your oxygen. If you want the full experience but don't feel like going hardcore, I would go with survival, which is generally what I play. So here we go. That's the ship, the Aurora, that you're on.
Attention. Hull failure imminent. All personnel abandon ship.
So the ship, so you're jumping into your life pod.
3, 2, 1.
And you're leaving from the Aurora and landing on the planet 4546b. Little known fact, but when you look up and you see that picture of the Aurora, it's actually not the ship. It's a poster that you can find on the Aurora later. It's just, if you can zoom out with the camera, you can see that it's just a poster of the ship. Cool little tip. Okay. And so we start. First things first, you got to put out the fire. So we're going to grab our little fire extinguisher here and go at the base of the flames until they're out. Okay. This is basically going to be your inventory, where you can check on your information.
The DA has now rebooted in emergency mode with one directive: to keep you alive on an alien world. Please refer to the data bank for detailed survival advice. Good luck.
You'll be spending a lot of time in here looking at your inventory. Any blueprints, sorry, I couldn't find the word there. Any blueprints that you have, there are a few blueprints that you're going to want to prioritize at the beginning. Your standard O2 tank, fins, those should be your first two above everything else. Another important one is going to be your scanner. That's going to allow you to scan pieces of equipment so that you can gain the blueprints for the things. Eventually, you're going to want a repair tool, but first, before that, you'll want a survival knife to start with. The repair tool is an important one also, so you can only pin 5 recipes, so I'm going to start with that. Okay, because eventually you're going to want to repair this life pod, because this is going to be your home for a while. If you come over here, you can get a first aid kit. I would recommend, there's certain things you should carry with you at all times. You should carry a first aid kit, a couple of batteries, which I'll get into later. And if you come into the storage here, before you have the flashlight, I would carry a couple flares, a couple of water, and you only need one of these bricks. You're going to want to have at least a couple things of water with you. If you are going to be away for an extended period of time, you'll want to carry more, obviously. But since our food meter is down to 49%, because as you'll see on the left-hand side, the red meter is your health, yellow meter is your food, O2 is self-explanatory, and the blue is your water. So we're going to go ahead and eat one of these nutrient blocks. The food bar is the only one that can go above 100. Everything else stops at 100. So now we're going to go get wet. This little movie only plays the first time. So as you can see, we'll need a couple of those to make batteries. You got to watch your oxygen meter. Once you get to about 30 seconds, you want it to start moving towards the surface. Here at the beginning, you don't want to stray too far from the surface. That's why I say prioritize your fins so you can swim faster, and your oxygen tank so you can stay under longer. So right now, we're just kind of... See, these things right here, usually see it contains technology that you can scan with your scanner. So once we actually have a scanner, we will be able to do that. Yeah, copper is essential, and you want to, if you can find these, pick them up. That's going to give you four. That's going to give you 4 titanium. Titanium is your basic building block, and there's the crashed Aurora. In about 3 days in-game time, the Aurora is going to explode. If you try to go on the Aurora now, you can't actually gain access to the ship. But once it explodes, which irradiates the water, you will be able to then board the Aurora. But I would not recommend boarding the Aurora until you have certain technologies. Lots of water, lots of food. The place is huge. There's a lot of places. It's easy to get lost and confused. It's above water. There's a few sections that are below water, but for the most part, it's above water, so that you don't have to worry about drowning. So we are going after silicone rubber, which means we need a couple of these things. I'm prioritizing the fins and the oxygen tank, like I said. To make a battery, to make that scanner, we're going to need 2 of those mushrooms that I picked up and a copper. Luckily, we already have a copper, so we're good there. So the survival knife is also a very important thing. It's going to be used to get some resources and also to defend yourself, because there are some hostile creatures. Especially here in the beginning, there are hostile creatures. Nothing too dangerous. And you also are going to be eating a lot of fish, so I hope nobody's averse to seafood. You will mainly subsist on seafood. These right here, these fish are some of the most nutritious fish to cook, and you have to cook them before you eat them. I mean, you don't have to, but you're not going to get the same amount of nutrition out of them than if you cook them, and you use the fabricator to cook them. I'm looking for a particular kind of fish. There's a fish that you can actually gain water from, if I can find it. And these big sea cow looking things, if you get near them, they drop their little acid pods, their little poison pods. Definitely stay away from the cloud that they let off these little beads, and then they explode into a cloud of poison gas, or you'll want to stay away from that because it will damage you. It won't instantly kill you or anything like that, but it will damage you. So you'll want to stay away from that. This is the fish right here. It's a bladder fish. That's a crash fish. You'll want to avoid those. When you have flippers, you can outswim them, but this is the only source of cave sulfur, which you are going to need cave sulfur for the repair tool. And there's a few other recipes that require it also. Going into the caves, you have to be careful because they are in there. Okay. Bladderfish. The reason I grabbed him is not for the water. There is a recipe for a very important piece of equipment that I did not mention that we will be working on after we get our basics down. So here's your fabricator. We're going to come in here into our basic materials. We're going to turn that salvage into some titanium. We're going to turn the seed clusters that I picked up into rubber. We're going to do a couple of those. Okay. And now we're going to create our battery for our scanner. Okay. Now we should be able to create most of the things that we need. You'll want to come here for the standard O2 tank first. That's going to be your highest priority. And also from here, you can hit square on the PlayStation to unpin the recipe because we don't need to pin it anymore. And we're going to need the fins so that we can swim faster. Okay. Now, under here, under tools, we're going to want it looks like we have just enough to make everything we need. We're going to do the scanner. That's one of your most important tools. That's how you're going to find new blueprints. You have to scan certain numbers of, depending on how powerful it is, you have to scan anywhere from like 1, 2, 3 up to 4 to unlock the recipe. So when we're going to get our survival knife. And then finally, we're going with the repair tool. This is the other thing I was telling you about that we're going to need, the air bladder. It's very, very important. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that recipe. We'll come back to that, though. We can take off the survival knife because we already did that. The repair tool. Okay. Now, we can go in here. We're going to assign the scanner. You'll want the scanner to be on either the left or the right hand side. I'll explain why in a minute. Any things that you use frequently, you'll want to have on either the left or the right. And you'll see that it automatically equipped the O2 tank and the fins on us. So let's see, repair tool we'll put here. Scanner we already have. Knife we already have. There'll be a few different things we will assign to the hotbar, and there's certain things that you'll use more than others, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to drink some water because our water is down. We've also unlocked the high capacity, which that's also needs to be a high priority for you as well. You did that when you created the standard O2 tank. It automatically unlocks that blueprint. If you're going to be swimming around at night, now that you've got that stuff, you can go ahead and make your flashlight because it gets really dark at night. But right now we're going to repair the life pod, and you'll see why in just a second. The main reason that it gives you information, and it also gives power so that you can repair the radio. If you don't repair that first, the radio won't work because there'll be no power. And you're going to get a lot of messages on these, which are going to give you locations of other life pods, and there's some really good technology outside of those life pods. So let's listen to the radio.
Distress signal received. Rescue operation will be dispatched to your location in 9 hours.
That's a lot of hours. I can't do the math because that's a lot of nines, but it's a long time. In other words, no help's coming. And now, as you can see, we have 72 seconds of oxygen underneath. So now we want 2 more of these for the battery, for the flashlight. And glass, you're going to want 2 quartz to make 1 glass. So you want to look around for quartz. It looks like little crystals. We'll grab this for titanium. And now everything, if you want more lore, you can equip your scanner and you can basically scan everything. Certain things will give you technology when you scan them. Indigenous life forms generally won't. There are a few exceptions, but generally you want to look for wreckages now that you have the scanner and look for things to scan. As you can see in the lower right, it shows a scanner symbol if it's something you can scan. This is the Sea Glide. It's one of the most important basic technologies you have in the beginning. It's going to allow you to move super, super fast, and it comes with its own flashlight. So if you don't want to build the flashlight to begin with, you can, once you get the Sea Glide, you won't need it anymore. But see what I mean about it being dark? The sun hasn't even completely gone down yet, and it's super, super dark. We're going to the kelp forest. If you get disoriented, there's no in-game map. So there's no map that says you are here, this is there. There's nothing like that. So if you're interested in a map of what's where, you can go on Google and you can find an actual map that other players have mapped out for you. Or you can just kind of wing it like I do and use the fact that you've played the game a million times to know where everything is. But a lot of the fun is discovering where everything is, and there's some technology we're going to get that's going to help you with that. You'll be able to get something called a beacon, which will put a map marker. You see how the life pod has a map marker? So no matter where you are, you always see it. Beacons will put one of those for you. You want at least 2 of those on you at all times, because once you find something without knowing how to get back to it, you won't be able to get back to it, and you'll never be able to find it again. So having the beacons, you can drop one and it even lets you name it. You can say wreckage here, or what have you, which is very, very useful. Another thing you can get is, if you notice, there's no way to know what direction you're moving. There is technology really early on called the compass, which is going to give you your cardinal directions. So that's a big help to keep you from getting disoriented. All right, we're going to turn the creepvine seed cluster into some rubber so that we can build the air bladder. Why is this important? Well, what this does is when you activate it, it automatically takes you to the surface super, super fast. So let's say you're deep and you realize, oh no, I don't have enough. There's no way I'm going to get to the surface in time. You activate that, and even if you get to the point where you're at 0, there's a few seconds after 0 where you'll black out. But if you get to the surface in time, you won't actually die. This thing will continue to take you upwards until you break the surface. So even if the screen gets dark, you still have a chance to survive. So that's a very important thing to have. It's kind of an emergency button, like, oh crap, I overestimated where I am. So now that we have that, one of the best sources of water that you can get. Before I get to that point, let me take a step back. Here is where you can find any of the data that you can look up for any of the things you scanned. It will give you an assessment, edible high calorie count for the research required. And then you can read all about, if you really want to get into the lore of the game and the world and what's going on, you can go into that, and that will definitely give you all of that. Bottom line is, you've crash landed on a water planet 4546B. Your society has banned all weapons, so you won't be getting any guns, other than the only weapon you actually get is a knife. So there won't be running around shooting people or anything like that. I'll put the air bladder here on the left-hand side for emergencies. I will demonstrate that here in just a second. I'll show you how important it is. Yeah, when they make that noise, that's usually because they're being threatened. The best source of water I was talking about, I will show you. It's why having the knife is kind of important. What you want to look for are, I think the game's frozen or something. The creatures aren't moving. That's weird. That doesn't usually happen. Okay. See how we're way down? Equip this, hit R2. It shoots you up to the surface. And all you have to do is stay up here for a second and it refills it with air. But you have to unequip it by hitting O or you won't be able to swim down. Now what you do is you come, for the water, you come to the coral tube, giant coral tubes. Any of them will do. They never run out, so you can keep hitting the same one over and over and over again. It won't matter. And you're going to want to also have salt. Some of the best water you can get is you combine that giant coral tube with salt. And it gives you really big water. So we'll have a couple of those. In the meantime, you can grab these things. These brain coral are good. They release oxygen bubbles every so often. See? They always do 3, and each one gives you 10 seconds of oxygen. So I'm going to grab a few of these guys. Until you start finding salt, you can grab a couple of those guys. They turn directly into water. It does help also to know what creatures are hostile and what creatures are not. Not everything's hostile, as you can see. There are a few creatures that are hostile, but here in the safe shadows where you start out, most things are not hostile. Even the guys who release the pods, they're not hostile. They do it as a self-defense mechanism. They won't attack you or anything like that. When it comes to food will spoil, so only cook as many fish as you need at the time. Because as you'll see, there's a bar on the right-hand side of this now that will slowly go down over time until it becomes bad, and then eating it will make you sick. So as you can see, food 32, water 5. These peepers are some of the best things you can eat. They're plentiful in the safe shallows, so I would recommend getting those if you can. With food, you can go above 100, so if you're close to 100 and you don't want to waste it, eat it. It will actually take you up. I'm not sure exactly how high above 100 it will go, but going over 100 will help. So then for the water, we come down here. This is what I was talking about. You make bleach. You need the coral tube and salt, and that will make bleach. And then that bleach immediately lets you get these really big waters. Until then, you'll have to subsist on bladderfish. I always recommend having at least 2 bottles of water with you so that you don't get dehydrated. Anything that you don't need, you have a limited amount of storage here. So you can put some of this stuff up. Until we find some salt, we'll put that up. Until we find some copper to make batteries, we'll put that up. And we'll put the silicone rubber back up. Okay. It's light out again. So we want to start looking for quartz. We want the higher capacity oxygen. If given the choice, you want to get more oxygen. That should be your highest priority. If you can get technology that allows you to stay under water longer, you definitely want that. That should be top priority for you. Here in the safe shallows, your biggest danger are going to be those crash fish that when you come near them, they come flying out and they explode. But if you have the fins, you can get away from them before they explode. This is quartz. You're going to want 2 of those for every glass. You're able to build your own bases once you have the habitat builder completed, which we will move towards that next. When you build your base, you want to build your base away from the aurora. So the aurora's there. You kind of want to have it over this way a little ways, because after the aurora explodes, it irradiates all the water until you're able to get on board the ship and fix the engines that are leaking. Copper for our battery. And a lot of what you're going to be doing is kind of swimming around just looking for things, because your drop pod starts in the safe shallows every time, but it's in a random spot in the safe shallows, so there's no way to know where it is. And as I said before, there are no maps, so you kind of have to get the lay of the land and look around in your particular area. I am currently looking for quartz. It's going to be glass that's on the ground. Also, you want to stay above 100 meters at the beginning until you get the rebreather. If you go 100 or below, it starts taking double the oxygen for you to go. There's some salt. We'll be able to make some bleach and get some water. There's another quartz. Only a couple of salts to begin with. You only have limited inventory, so you don't want to go too crazy with it. A couple of salts should be okay. Here, once you start seeing the red grass, there are piranha fish that will bite you. See, and then we just do this. See, takes us right to the surface. It's beautiful. And we want to be able to stay down longer. That's why I am prioritizing making the next oxygen tank, because we only have 72 seconds, which is a minute and 12 seconds. This is another important piece of technology you're going to want to have. Also, those sharks are dangerous too. Those sand sharks. They hide in the sand and then they pop out. You definitely want to stay away from those guys. Different kinds of rocks will give you different metals. The one I destroyed at first, that sandstone one, that is either going to have lead, gold, or silver in it, which are all very, very important things to have. Gold. Some of the more high-level recipes are going to require gold and silver. Lead you won't need as much until much later, but you will eventually need lead as well. So any lead that you happen to pick up, just go ahead and store that until you're able to use it. Okay, we have the silver that we need. We have the quartz that we need. So right now I am going to head back so that I can make the oxygen tank. The flashlight I don't think we're going to need, because we're going to be getting the Sea Glide. And as I said, it has a flashlight and it makes you able to move super fast. But if you're far away from getting the Sea Glide, then you may want to prioritize the flashlight. I've got one of two of the Sea Glide pieces that I'm going to need. So I'm not going to worry about that. Let me get all the titanium. Okay, now let's make the glass that we need. You'll notice in the recipe it also says there's an oxygen tank that you need. So what you have to do before you make it, you have to come into your inventory and you have to unequip your oxygen tank. Now it will light up and allow you to make the high capacity. And you'll see, if you look at the oxygen meter, we now have 135 seconds, which is 2 minutes and 15 seconds, which is a lot better. There's actually one more oxygen tank above that one, the ultra high capacity, but you won't be able to find that for a while, so I wouldn't worry about that at the moment. I'm going to unpin that. I'm going to pin this because you want to start being able to build your own base, because this life pod is great, but it's limited. There's limited space. You can't put all the stuff you need. When the red light's on, it means you have a radio message.
our coordinates. We're plugging some holes in our emergency sea guide, so if we're late for the rendezvous, don't panic. Also, don't go home without us. Seriously. 3 out.
Signal location uploaded to PDA.
That is actually a very important one. There is a sea glide fragment outside of the life pod, and as we already have one, when we go there, we will be able to get the second one, and we will be able to start making that. And you remember I said before that you want to have a couple batteries on you, especially with the Sea Glide. The Sea Glide eats through battery very, very quickly. For the habitat builder, we're going to need a computer chip and a wiring kit. If you can see here, a wiring kit is silver ore, and a computer chip is table coral samples, gold, and copper wire. Copper wire requires 2 copper, which won't be hard to get, but we won't be able to get it quite yet. Where is there it is. A lot of the things you're going to want to be able to move fast in order to get them. There's vehicles you can unlock as you go. Here's the table coral. Just grab a couple of these because we're going to need those. And if you have anything in your hand, you swim slower. So what you want to do on PlayStation, just hit O and you'll unequip it. Because anything in your hand actually slows you down like it would in real life. It's going to slow you down. You're not going to be able to swim as much. So I'm going to grab some of these, because we're going to have to make a couple batteries, because once we get the Sea Glide starts eating through your battery very, very fast. Confusing things even more, there are actually a couple of different safe shallows, and there's a couple of different kelp forests, just to confuse you a bit. So here we are at Life Pod 3. There is a Sea Glide fragment here, as I said, which gives us the Sea Glide. And there is also these boxes here are very important. They're data boxes. They have blueprints in them. Automatically, it just gives you the blueprint. You don't have to collect pieces or anything. And that's the compass. That's an important one as well.
You really think it'll carry 2 of us?
Your regular Sea Glide tows a mass of 80 kilograms at over 30 kilometers an hour. The power cell rigged to this one should double that.
You think there's something out there that's faster?
I'm sure. That's assuming it doesn't overload 3 meters from the light pod.
You're calm about this.
I'm seeing the engineering problem. I'll stop seeing the maths. I'll be terrified.
So you'll find little data pads like this throughout the game. Some of them are audio. Some of them you actually have to read. I know Gasp, a game where they actually make you read stuff. And if you're really playing the game because you want to get into the lore and the world and feel like everything that you're there, I know some people like to get immersed in the game. I would definitely read any of these things as you pick up and listen to any of the conversations. That'll help you get into the game world itself, and it stops just being a survival game and starts being like a story that you can get behind, because the story can get a little in depth if you want. We're going to pin the recipe for the compass and the rebreather. It's also another very important technology. And the Sea Glide. So let's get out of here. If you come to here, this is any of the beacons that you've unlocked. I would recommend changing the color coding things, because after a while, once you're dropping beacons, you're going to start getting overwhelmed with all these icons. If you have them arranged by color, you'll know by color, oh, if I'm looking for my base, it's this color. If I'm looking for signals, it's this color. Me personally, I love the color orange. So for bases, I will use orange. For signals, I'll use something contrasting like yellow, because that actually stands out. It's pretty bright. The blues tend to blend into the background because, it's water. That's just my recommendation. If you have a particular color that you like, there's not a whole lot of choices, but red's also a really good contrasting color if you want to be able to pick it out. I just choose orange because I like the color orange. So, okay. We're going to head back. As you can see, look at it's big orange. It's bright. You can see it. We're going to head back towards the life pod, and we're going to look for technology as we go. The beacon, that's a very important one. As I was telling you before, that's going to allow you to mark things. The trash can is not an important one, but I'm kind of obsessive about having all the technology, so I scan everything. You don't necessarily have to. The trash can just allows you to get rid of stuff, which I assure you is not a big problem in this game. You can just drop stuff in the ocean. I know it's littering, but if you scan something you already have, you can. It just gives you 2 titanium instead. So if you need another source of titanium, you can scan technologies you already have. This is another good one. This will help you with catching fish. If you're having trouble sneaking up on the fish or chasing after them, the grav trap can help. You throw it down, it sucks everything in a certain radius into it and holds it there. So then you can use that to then grab the fish. I don't particularly find it to be much of a problem, but I can understand how some people might have issues with that. If you do, then the grav trap is for you. I generally do not really carry any grav traps with me. But as I said, if you have trouble, the fish can get a little slippery. They kind of twist and turn here and there. So I can understand using that. It only works on small fish. It doesn't work on some of the bigger predators that you have to avoid. So we're going to look around shipwrecks. Shipwrecks are going to be a really good source of technology. Some of the bigger ones you won't be able to get into until you've unlocked the laser cutter, because you will literally have to cut through doors to get to it. But some of the smaller wrecks it's just stuff strewn about that you can just scan and grab at your leisure, or leisure if you want to pronounce it that way. I'm heading back, but I'm also looking for resources. That's kind of something you want to get into the habit of doing. Move towards an objective, and look for resources as you go. It becomes second nature after a while. Once you have your own base, you can build all the storage you want so that you'll be able to store an excess of things. Things you're going to need a lot of are going to be copper, titanium, some of the more exotic metals, silver, gold. Quartz becomes a big need, so knowing where a good source of quartz is going to be helpful. If you are the kind of hoarding type, you can start grabbing all that stuff and throwing it into your stashes. Once you start making lockers and things like that, you can even label them. You can have a locker for quartz, a locker for copper. As long as you have the resources to build them, you can build as many lockers and storage as you want. So, we don't have the gold for the computer chip, but what we do have is if we come here, we got to pick up the coral tube samples. We'll go ahead and make the water. Water never goes bad, so you don't have to worry about that. So what you have to do for the water is you come here, you create your bleach. It takes 1 salt and 1 coral tube. And then you come to here, water, and it creates the water. And as you'll see, it creates 2 bottles of water each. So it gives you 30 water. As the other one was only, I believe, 20 or 25. So these are a little bit bigger. And it also creates 2 every time. Whereas the bladderfish, it's only going to create 1 at a time. With water, you can't go over 100. So to not waste water, make sure that you're at least whatever the water you have count down. So if it's a 30, then you want to make sure that you're at 70. So you don't waste anything, basically. Now I'm going to wait. We have to create copper wire, so we'll have to create a couple copper wire. We'll also need a bunch of silver. Oh, let me see. 2, 4. We're going to need 6 copper. The Sea Glide should be your highest priority at this point, because that's going to be something until you start making vehicles of your own. That's going to be your fastest way of getting around and getting away from predators, because there are some nasty ones as you go further and further in the game into deeper and deeper spaces. There are these things called leviathans that, if you're not in a vehicle, can kill you in one hit. Gobble and you're dead, and they're terrifying. You'll see. We will eventually run into those as we go. So we're going to prioritize the Sea Glide. So what we're going to need is copper, and we're going to need more of those seed pods. So as we go, we're going to look for the limestone rocks, which is what has copper. It has a chance for copper and also a chance for titanium. So it's not a guarantee. There's really no place that's going to guarantee you copper every single time. In order to get the lubricant, you're going to have to grab a creepvine cluster. Here in the kelp forest, the only thing you really have to worry about predators are these things right here. They're not super hostile. They will chase you and bite you once, and then they usually will swim away. They're not aggressive. And also, if you want to get them off your case, pick up some of that metal salvage and drop it, and they will leave you alone. They will go and grab that instead. They're obsessed with metal salvage. If you watch them, you'll see them pick it up, swim around with it, and then go drop it somewhere. It's really weird. Also, another thing we want to make sure we get are, once we get the beacon, we'll want to make a couple beacons, like I was saying before. Right now, we didn't make the flashlight, so I kind of really can't see anything. I was expecting to have it built by now, but I've been spending a little extra time explaining things, so time has kind of gotten away from me a little bit. So we'll stay here in the safe shallows. You can find those limestone chunks here that will contain your copper. You just kind of have to swim around a little bit. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking for limestone chunks. Eventually, once you start getting vehicles, things become so much easier, but it also opens up new challenges for you. Each vehicle that you unlocked has a crush depth, which is the depth that it can't go below until, if you go below the crush depth for a vehicle, it starts taking damage until it explodes. But you're able to build modules for the vehicles. One of them is crush depths, so you can go lower and lower and lower. One of the most badass things that you can get is the prawn suit, which is literally, have you ever seen Aliens, when she's in the big robot suit that allows her to fight the alien queen? You can get one of those. It's called the prawn suit. You can change out its arms for drill arms, grappling hook arms. There's different arms you can swap out for it. It has its own oxygen source as long as it's powered. So you actually can walk along the bottom and search for resources. It's really, really cool. That's going to be something we're going to get later. Basically, the only way to get that is to explore the Aurora once it explodes. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and make our Sea Glide.
The Sea Glide will increase your effective exploration range. For your safety, please
And then we want to immediately assign it to,
5 kilometers of the nearest
we'll put it here. And then we'll put this here. The reason I say put them on the edges is because when on console at least, there's no fast buttons where you hit F1, F2, whatever to go to each particular one. You have to hit left or right on the D-pad a couple of times. And if it's on the edge, you'll only have to hit left once. So in an emergency, you can scan real quick, or you can go to your CGLAD real quick. So the things you use the most, you're going to want to put on the edges. So, okay. Our inventory is starting to fill up a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and put some of this stuff up. You're limited in your storage, but you don't want to carry too much as far as resources. You always want to have a first aid kit, either a nutrient block or 2 things of food. If you notice, I have the peeper uncooked. You don't cook them until you need them, but you can hold them on you indefinitely and they don't go bad. So the best thing you can do is just keep it in fish form until you need it. There is a way to preserve food, preserve the fish if you use salt, but it also will take away from your water. So I would only do that if you don't have any other choice and you're going to be going on a long journey and you really need food, because it only takes your water down a tiny bit. It's not a huge amount that you lose. So it's okay. All right. So now we're going to continue on. We're going to need lots and lots of copper. We're going to need a copper for the battery for the habitat builder. We're going to need 2 copper to do copper wire for the compass. And we also are going to need 6 silver. So let's break out our... It also has a topographical map of your local area that you can use. It shows you kind of what's around you. You can hit up to make that go away, R2 to give yourself a flashlight. So now we don't need to make the flashlight. So we actually saved ourselves a little bit of time. So now we are looking out for copper. We're looking out for silver. There's a grav trap. We've already done that. We're looking for fragments. We're looking for shipwrecks. With this thing, as you can see, you can move really, really fast. It also makes getting back to the surface easy. I would still keep the air bladder on you in case you go a little too low and you don't realize it and you're like, oh shoot. You can swap to it real quick and then get yourself to the surface. Because as I said, it doesn't require any input from you. It automatically will take you to the surface. This thing should allow you to outrun pretty much all of these smaller predators. The Leviathans it won't outrun.
Passing 100 meters.
Yeah, you definitely want to stay away from going below 100 meters until we have that rebreather.
Integrating new PDA data.
The habitat builder is great and all, but the rebreather is going to help us. It makes it so when you go below 100 meters, it doesn't take double the amount. It doesn't take double the oxygen. So before you have it, you kind of want to limit yourself to above 100. The reason I'm coming over here is because you're going to find a lot of these things. And that's pretty much the only place you're going to find. See, there's one of the piranhas. The only place you're going to find gold, silver, are in those things. Limestone, that's going to get us our copper. The sea moth, that's definitely important. That's one of the first vehicles you get. It's a little underwater submarine thingy. We need 3 fragments to scan for that one. So we're going to want to look out for those. There's a few different shipwrecks here in the red grass area. So that's why I came over here. This is also a good place to find gold, silver. There's also a chance for lead. I wouldn't throw any lead that you find away. I would hold on to it, because as I said before, you will eventually need lead. One of the best ways to power your base in the game is going to be the nuclear reactor. They'll give up chasing you eventually because you can outrun them. And making the nuclear reactor requires quite a bit of lead.
100 meters.
Yeah, I know.
Oxygen decreased.
I only did it because I wanted to grab that. I can always do this. See, it takes you up even faster than the Sea Glide can take you up. So that's important. Okay. Alright. So now let's keep looking. We need to find more silver. Gold is important too because that's going to allow you to create computer chips, which some of the more advanced recipes are going to require computer chips. Try to stay above 100 unless you see something below 100 that is really, really enticing. Then dip below just temporarily, quickly enough in order to grab whatever it is and then move on. Going under 100 for a short period of time is not going to kill you. It just makes your oxygen efficiency go down. Like, see, here's a good shipwreck. There's a sea moth fragment. And then we go back above. Oh, nope, there's something here. Now we'll go above 100. We have 1 silver. In order to get the rebreather, we're going to need 2 silver. So what we're going to do is we're going to look around for some more silver. Which the only way to get it is these things. Or 2 silver. Sweet. Later on, once you get the drill arm for the prawn suit, you'll be able to find these big chunks of certain different resources that you can use the drill arm to get that resource without having to guess. So there'll be silver ore piles, there'll be gold, you know, the various different things. But before then, you need to take your chances by cracking the rocks open. It takes 3 hits if you have no weapon in your hand or a device. Even having the scanner in your hand, you can hit it once and it will break it open. So just keep that in mind. The one other thing we need is fiber mesh. The only way to get fiber mesh is you have to come over here to the kelp forest. Take out our handy dandy knife. Let's avoid the big nasty thing, and then let's go. You're gonna need 2, so smack it twice, and then let's go. To save on battery, just turn the flashlight on the Sea Glide off during the day. Okay. So we come in here, do our fiber mesh. Okay, come under electronics, and we're going to make our wiring kit. Okay, then we come under here under equipment, and we make our rebreather. And now we don't have to worry. We can go to any depth we want, and it doesn't matter. No matter what depth you go to, the oxygen depletion is the same. It doesn't matter if it's 100 meters, 300 meters, 500, whatever. There is no, once you get the rebreather, and also for you as an individual, there is no crush depth. Which, unlike in real life, there is a crush depth for the human being. In this game, there is not. You can go 1,500 to 2,000 meters, and it doesn't phase you. But your vehicles will be crushed if they go below whatever their crush depth is. Let me see. We have 1 copper. We should probably create another battery, because as you can see, the Sea Glide's power goes down super fast. And also, we have a radio signal. These are always good to have because they'll tell you where life pods are.
What the hell, guys? They didn't warn us this might happen. Our pod was almost crushed by the Seamoth Bay on the way down. Now we're hanging on the edge of a cave system, and this grim-looking snake thing's trying to beat through the hull. Come get us already.
Signal location uploaded to PDA.
Even after you get this particular one, I would keep its marker on the thing, on your display, because it's on the edge of a cave system, and that cave system is a good source for diamonds, which, as you can see, we do need if we're going to get the laser cutter. We're going to need diamonds. And there's a bunch of recipes also that require it. Oops, I hit the wrong button. It wiped all of my recipes. That's okay, I'll just put them back. So that cave system is a very important cave system. There's also a base down there that once you have the resources, you can go down and plunder. And there's a lot of technology and stuff in that. I wouldn't do it until you had a vehicle like the sea moth with enough crush depth or the prawn suit, because it is a ways down, the cave system itself. This pod is not really that far down, as you can see. We have a sea moth fragment. We now have the full recipe for the sea moth.
How's his log? It's the day of the crash. I don't know what the heck is happening. I'm scared and I'm not going outside. There are shadows in the water under the hatch, but I can't tell if they're rocks or aliens. There's weird-looking caves nearby. The Aurora was carrying everything needed to build the phase gate. Mobile vehicle bays, bioreactors, propulsion cannons. It had a cinema. There was a zero-G gym. My cafe. I don't understand how we're here now. Don't know why no one's coming for me.
It's a little bit, and one of those little bitey fish. Now, he said they're on the edge of a cave system. Normally I would put a beacon here, but this cave system, as I said, is a very, very important cave system. Normally you have to put a beacon, but if you come in here and make sure that this one stays on, you'll be able to always come back to this cave system. So it's kind of a free beacon. You're going to be spending a lot of time in that cave system if you want some of the more advanced materials like diamonds, which aren't necessarily easy to come by.
30 seconds.
Okay. We picked up 1 copper. We have some gold, which will allow us to make the computer chip that we need. So that takes care of the computer chip. We need 2 silver for the wiring kit, and we need 1 copper and some of those things. We have our 1 copper. Excuse me. We just need the 2 silver now. So as you can see, we can go to any depth we want, and we're not going to get a warning that oxygen is compromised, yada yada. Having extra copper never hurts. The best thing to do is not really stand still for too long. You want to keep moving. Things can't really get you if you're moving, especially with the Sea Glide, because you move too fast. The scanner room's it's a room you can make for your base that allows you to scan long distances to find resources. You can find technology, you can find certain resources that you might be looking for, and there's upgrades to it that can make the range of it pretty far, so that you can end up searching a lot farther. And then there's also an upgrade chip that you can put on your suit that allows you to track those things. So it puts little markers on your out in the world so you know exactly how to get to it. Otherwise, you have to read this 3D holographic map to figure out where everything is. I wouldn't even bother using the scanner room until you've gotten that chip. But the problem is the chip does take some more advanced materials. Specifically, it'll take magnetite, which is something that is not easy to come by. It's usually found at really, really low depths. It's not impossible to get. There are a few places you can actually pick it up, but it's not easy. That's where that cave system comes into play, that cave system I was telling you about. The one where he said there's giant worms, and he was right, there are. There's giant worms in the cave system that you have to be careful, because they will attack you relentlessly. So you have to be very careful with those. But we'll deal with that once we get to that part. One of the most important things you can build later on is the Cyclops. It's essentially a mobile base. It's huge. You can have storage on it. You can have a fabricator, which allows you to create things. You can basically put anything. You can put in a base in it. You'll also be able to put grow beds so that you can grow your own food, which is something that I would definitely recommend as soon as you have the capabilities. Okay, we are interested in the habitat, so we're going to need this. The computer chip, we have to pick up some table coral samples. Those are easy to get. Just look for any... Oh, we're going to need a couple of these. You're looking for little red lines on the side of stuff, like right here. Here we go. Only way to get them is you got to hit it with the knife once. Come on, grab it. Then put your knife away so you can swim at normal speed. So let's come back this way. Okay, we're back in here. So let's do our computer chip, our battery, and our wiring kit. We'll go ahead and unpin the recipe. Oh no, sorry. The habitat builder. My mistake. Come over here, we'll unpin the recipe, and let's create our habitat builder. I'll go ahead and put it here in place of the repair tool. The repair tool you don't need as often. You'll need it to repair your vehicles if they happen to take damage. But that's once we get vehicles. Right now, there's really no use for the repair tool. We also have no use for the fire extinguisher, at least not yet. When you get to the Aurora, you're going to need fire extinguishers to put out some of the fires, because there are a lot of fires and they block off very important places that you need to get to. So we will need it for that. So put it there so we can save it. Okay. The compass is another good one that we're going to want. The laser cutter, we don't have any wrecks to cut into, so it's not as top priority at the moment. Okay, what else do we need? The laser cutter eventually we will need, yes. The Seamoth. The thing about vehicles is you cannot build the vehicle until you have the mobile vehicle bay, which is this little platform that builds vehicles. Will build your prawn suit, your Seamoth, and your Cyclops. So we got to find the pieces for the mobile vehicle bay. So we can't build the Seamoth just yet. That's why I haven't pinned the recipe, because there's no point. We can't make it. Even if I got all the materials right now, I wouldn't be able to make it. Is there a radio message? No. Okay. So we need to get copper and we need silver again. You can actually use the Aurora as kind of a landmark to help you figure out where things are. Because if you head towards the Aurora, you will find the grassy plains, which is where you're going to find your silver and your gold. This is some of the things, deposits I was talking about. Once you get the prawn suit and the drill arm, you'll be able to drill that and get just that resource. There's one for basically every resource in the game. Okay, we need copper and we need silver. And while we're at it, we're looking for shipwrecks. Nuclear waste disposal, believe it or not, is actually pretty important once you start getting into the nuclear reactor. The rods that are used to power the nuclear reactor, the only way to get rid of them is to dump them in that. We won't need it now or anytime soon, not until we've created the nuclear reactor, and that's going to be a little while into the game. We got a long, long way until we get there. You'll hear a lot of noises in this game. At first, it's intimidating because you don't know what the noises are. But once you've played the game for a while, you start realizing. Like those low guttural noises that you're hearing, those are those whales that swim near the top of the water. They are harmless themselves. What you do have to worry about is they do have these plants on their back that shoot barbs at you that you have to worry about. So you have to be careful of that. As long as you stay mobile, they can't hit you. They shoot where you are, not where you're going to go. So it's not like they can target lock you. So you don't have to worry about that. Right now we are looking for the things we need. Silver and copper. Without the scanner room, you just have to kind of swim around and look for the resources that you need. Once you're able to get the scanner room, I don't have it yet, but once you're able to build it and get the chip that allows you to literally just go straight to the resources, because it points it out on your map, you have to have access to magnetite in order to build that chip. The scanner room is basically useless until you get to that point. Not having the chip, the room will show you things, but it won't show it on your map. It shows you in this little 3D holographic map, and you have to kind of figure out where those places are by yourself. So it's kind of useless until you get that. It's giving me lots of gold. And gold is not what we need right now, but I would not dump it because there are going to be some resources, some things you want to build there are going to require a bunch of gold. In this game, you basically want to hoard everything. Just because you don't need the particular resource right now doesn't mean that you should discount it or dump it. You should only dump things in extreme circumstances. If you have no room. Because eventually you're going to need pretty much all the resources for a project down the road. So I definitely would not recommend dumping. The bioreactor is a good thing to have. You feed it biological material and it spits out power. So you can use it as a secondary power source for your base. Your first base you kind of want to create near the surface so that you can use solar panels. Use the sun basically to charge your base. And in the beginning, that's pretty much what you're going to be using to power your base. the closer you are to the surface, the more sunlight it's going to receive and the more power you're going to get. At night, predictably, the power will go down. So if you're doing any kind of thing that uses up power, you want to make sure that's done during the day when the base is receiving power. We can start creating our first base. That's a laser cutter, we already have it. We can look to start making our first base if we want. How much silver do we have? Oh, we have the 2 silver and we have the 2 copper. Okay, we can make the compass, which may not seem like important technology, but knowing your cardinal directions is very important for finding things. As would make sense. Knowing what's north, what's east, you can start, before you have access to beacon technology, you can just use your meters and use your cardinal directions. You can say, I found this place, it's X meters northwest or whatever of the drop pod. Also, when you create your first base, you won't have a marker for it until you create a beacon. There's no, unless you create a scanner room. Scanner rooms have their own camera pods that will mark them. But outside of that, if you lose where your base is, you'll have to figure out how to get back to it yourself. So generally, I try to not make a base until I have access to beacon technology. And depending on how you roam, you may find that on a particular game, you don't find it as quickly as you do on another game. Because as I said, your drop pod is put in a random spot in one of the 2 safe shallows locations. And there are 2 different safe shallows. So it's not that simple to know where you are in relation to, because you're going to be in the safe shallows, but it's a matter of knowing which safe shallows you're in and where you are. That's why having the compass is very, very important, because then you can start marking directions from where you are. As I said, I found this thing, it's X number of meters, whatever cardinal direction from the life pod. And you'll find, if you look online for maps and things, or locations of certain, if you're having trouble finding something, you can go on Google and look it up. Matter of fact, there's a wiki for this game. You can use it. It will give you directions as it pertains to the life pod. It'll say X number of meters, whatever direction of the life pod, which is, considering that, as I said, the life pod is somewhere random in the safe shallows, you're not going to know, but it kind of gives you a general idea of where it is. So now we want to start looking around for mobile vehicle bay, because we want to make our sea moth. That's going to be our next priority. Laser cutter is great, but our sea moth is going to be our next priority. And also we want to look into making a battery, because the battery on this one's about to die. And once it dies, if you don't have a replacement battery, that's that. And once your batteries die, your instinct may be, oh, I'll just dump it or drop it somewhere. You don't want to do that. You'll get a technology for your base that's going to allow you to recharge those batteries. So you want to hold on to any dead batteries you have. Okay. Normally, I wouldn't just go back to create one battery, but considering that we're at 6% power on our Sea Glide, I'm going to go back so I can create a battery. In the beginning, you may find that you're so busy chasing new technologies that you forget about your batteries, which, once you get the Sea Glide, can be a big problem. because the battery on that dies fast. And if you happen to be deep under the water and your Sea Glide battery dies, well, my friend, you are in trouble. So that's why I had recommended to have at least 2 batteries on you at all times. But I did the same thing that anybody playing the game the first time is going to do. They're wanting to get the new technology. So I understand, but we have a little lull right here. We're in a in-between area where we're looking for mobile vehicle bay pieces. There's really nothing technology-wise that we have to have right now. I mean, the laser cutter is up there. It would be nice to have that, but we don't need it, because we don't know where any giant wrecks are in order to cut our way into them. So for right now, I'm going to start looking for mobile vehicle bay pieces, but also I'm going to be on the lookout for limestone chunks so I can get more copper so I can make a few batteries. To change the battery on an item, you'll want to equip the item. On PlayStation, you want to hit square, choose the new battery, and there we go. And as I said, don't dump the batteries. Go ahead and just kind of put them up. You'll be able to recharge them later. Let's go.
Trading ship Sunbeam. Aurora, do you read? Over. Nothing but vacuum. These Altera ships. They run low on engine grease, send an SOS. You offer help, they don't pick up. Aurora, I'm out on the far side of the system. It's going to take more than a week to reach your position. You still need our assistance. Over. I'll try them again tomorrow. Damn charter's going to have us blowing our credits running errands for Altera. See what the long-range scans pick up in the meantime.
What that does is that's a side quest. The Sunbeam come in to rescue you. I don't want to really spoil anything yet, but there's a ship looking. It got the SOS call that the Aurora sent out right before it encountered its difficulties and got blowed up. We will deal more with that side quest once we get a little further into the story. The pieces of the mobile vehicle bay are going to be here in the kelp forest. They're usually going to be in boxes like that. You need 3 fragments. So you want to come here to the kelp forest, look around, mobile vehicle bay. If you played the game enough, you know where each technology is going to be. You may not know exactly where it's going to be, because as I said, your drop pod is going to be put into a random spot in the safe shallows, but the kelp forest is always nearby the safe shallows. It's okay if you take damage, as long as you keep your food and your water meter full, you'll heal. You'll heal back up. So taking a little bit of damage is not a problem. There's no need to use your medical kit. Medical kit is for when you take ridiculous amounts of damage and you're about to die. That's kind of like an, oh shit, I'm about to die, I'm going to use that to keep myself from dying. Not when you take a tiny bit of damage, because you do regenerate. Just like in real life, you're going to regenerate as long as you keep your food and water meter full. You're going to regenerate your health back. Now we have the mobile vehicle bay. So our highest priority right now is going to be to create said mobile vehicle bay. And then eventually we want to start getting the stuff together for the Seamoth itself. But the mobile vehicle bay has to be first. We need titanium ingots, which takes 10 titanium, lubricant, a power cell, which takes 2 batteries, and 2 batteries and silicone rubber. All right. So we're going to need several lubricant. So what we're going to do, we're going to need lots of titanium too. So we'll pick up a couple of these. We're going to need silicone rubber, and we're going to need, so what we're going to do, pick up a few of those. And we're going to need glass, it looks like. So we're going to also need quartz. You're going into caves, be careful. You can actually get lost in the cave.
Cave systems. Sulfur is an essential component of the repair.
You can get disoriented, turned around, and before you know it, you're stuck underwater and you drown. It has happened to me before. I will admit it. It's happened. I've gotten disoriented in a cave and drowned. It can happen to you. You can get turned around a lot easier than you think. You go right, left, right, whatever, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh crap, was it a left or a right turn that I made? And then you're dead. So be very careful with caves. Even someone who's played this game dozens of times like I have, it can happen. Oh, inventory's full. Okay. I'll admit, I've died. I've died getting lost in a cave system. Not proud of it, but it has happened. It is what it is. We're going to need 2 lubricant. And we're going to need some silicone rubber. Okay, we're going to need some glass. Okay, we're going to need more glass. That's only going to be enough for 1 titanium ingot. Okay. Let's see, let's get our batteries. Okay. See, it's going to, the silicone rubber we have, the lead, we also have 1 of the lead, so we'll grab that. That's why I suggested taking the lead and keeping it. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This will give us our other titanium ingot, because we need 1 for the Seamoth and 1 for the mobile vehicle bay. We're going to need quite a bit of copper. You need enough for 2 batteries. The good news is anything that requires a battery will also use a dead battery or an almost dead battery. So, see, it can use the almost dead battery. Okay, we can create the mobile vehicle base, so we'll go ahead and do that. Takes a little bit of doing, but that's okay.
Local radiation readings suggest the Aurora's drive core is
Ooh.
quantum detonation will occur within 2 hours.
That's going to be cool. There's actually a really big explosion that happens once the drive core goes critical, and that's when it irradiates the water. That's why I suggested building the base far away. Excuse me. I'm not going to build a base yet until I get beacon technology, and that is scattered all over the place. And as you can see, I have not found it yet. In order to use the mobile vehicle bay, you have to actually assign it to one of your slots. So I just do the closest slot. Now, once you're equipped, you hit R2 to release it. Now, you can then put your technology back. To assign it to a quick slot, like it says, you hit triangle. Okay, we can't build it just yet. We need more stuff for batteries, and we need quartz for glass. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now we're going to look around for copper, and we're going to look around for quartz. And for the water, we're going to go ahead and use our knife. There we go. Perfect. Because while you're doing all this looking for the stuff that you need, you got to also keep maintaining your water and your food. As you can see, my health is almost back to full. Because as long as you keep your health or your water and your food meters full, you will regenerate. 1 copper. We need 1 more copper, and then we'll be able to make our batteries. That's another reason why I said that you should keep your dead batteries, because anything that requires a battery to make, it doesn't matter if it's a dead battery or if it's a battery with 100% charge. As long as it's a battery, it doesn't check the charge. So it's actually preferable to use a dead battery to make the new technology. It doesn't affect the charge of whatever you create. Whatever you create is going to have 100% charge. So it's not like it gets the charge of whatever battery you use to create it. So those dead batteries can be used because there's a few different technologies that are going to require you to use a battery to create. Yes, I know. Okay. See, I almost drowned because I wasn't paying attention to the meter. It happens. You get so singularly focused on a task that you forget about your oxygen. That's why the air bladder is such an important piece of technology. It's kind of your oh shit button. You say, shit, I'm about to die. I'm about to drown. See, when those things explode, just stay away from the cloud, and you'll be okay. Outside of that, like I said, the creatures themselves, they're completely harmless. They can't hurt you. They have no way to attack you, other than they drop those little balls to damage you. Okay. Let's go ahead. Oh, I don't have enough quartz. How do I not have enough quartz? Let's create our 2 batteries. And let's create our power cell. Okay. And we also need to create our bleach for water. Because we kind of let our meter get a little far down. And that fish we've been carrying for the longest time, I'm going to go ahead and cook him up. See, a live fish doesn't spoil. See? Excellent. Now let's go ahead and create our water. That's why carrying a few live fish is helpful. Because you can cook them up whenever.
This is Life Pod 6. I have a passenger on board. Coordinates attached. We've landed a kilometer from the crash site, but there's radiation in between us and the rendezvous. Request immediate assistance. 6 out.
Signal coordinates corrupted. Approximate transmission origin recorded to data bank.
Okay. Right now, we are going to look for some quartz. a good source of quartz is going to be moving towards the Aurora to the grassy plains. There's a lot of quartz mixed in between the red grass. I found that that's a really good place. It's a good place to get salt, and it's a good place to get, ooh, the bioreactor. There. Now, once we have our base, we'll be able to create a bioreactor. How many quartz do we need? Oh, we need 2. You get used to all the noises you hear. You'll know what means something hostile towards you and something that's harmless. A lot of the background noises you hear are going to be harmless. We need to find 2 quartz. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. Okay. If you followed along with me and you've gotten to the level that I'm at, you're pretty set in the beginning. You don't have to worry about your oxygen level doesn't go down very fast. You've created enough batteries to back yourself up. You may have even created a base. The only problem with that is not having a beacon to know where your base is. That's mainly the only reason I haven't created a base. If you want to create a base before here and you have the compass so you know that your base is X number of meters, whatever direction from the life pod, you can definitely do that. And you can create your base as big. When you're creating a base, you want to make sure you have plenty of expansion room because you're going to want to keep adding rooms to it. Once you get the scanner room, you're going to want a scanner room. Then you're going to want a moon pool, which is a part of the base that allows you to park vehicles in it. It will actually repair and charge the vehicle. It allows you to change the color, the name of the vehicle itself. So you'll want, and that's a pretty big room. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a big wide open area, and that can be difficult. The terrain itself doesn't matter as much because when you build something a little bit higher up, it sprouts legs. So you're mainly looking for horizontal. You want to make sure that there's enough room. You can go with a main base in the safe shallows where you don't have to worry about predators as much. And then you can have a few mini bases here and there put them near where there's resources so that you can keep mining those resources and have a place to mine it from. You'll want to make sure there's not a lot of predators like leviathans around where your base is because they will destroy your base. They will attack your base until the structural integrity goes, and that's that. What I normally do is I create a main base somewhere in the safe shallows or in the kelp forest or the grassy plains is not a bad one because it only has the small predators and they can't damage your base. Like the little piranhas and the sharks, they can't damage your base. As long as you get in the base, you're good. And you'll want to have your first base to be closer to the surface. That's why closer to the safe shallows is where you kind of want to be because the closer you are to the surface, the more sunlight you're going to get. Once you get the nuclear reactor technology, then you can build your base as deep as you want to because all you'll need to do is build a nuclear reactor and 4 reactor rods, and that will last you for a really, really, really long time. So at the beginning, you want to have one main base in the safe shallows because that's closest to the surface. That's my recommendation, I will say. Let's go ahead and make our sea moth. So we come up here to climb up on our mobile vehicle bay. Sea moth. And now you can watch the little robots create it.
For your goals and endorphin
Okay, there we go. And now we have our sea moth.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
It has its own lights. And you don't have to worry about oxygen levels. It starts out with a 200-meter crush depth. And the battery, the power cell that it uses lasts quite a while. So, if you've been following along, that gives you kind of a start to jump off of. You'll have basically conquered the first part of the game. You'll have established yourself. You may or may not have a base. Next time, I probably will create a base, even without the beacon technology. Beacons you're going to find usually in wrecks. There's a few wrecks, and even bigger. There's even a big wreck in the grassy plains. There's a few mini wrecks in one of the two kelp forests, and I think in the starting, that's about it. Once you find beacon technology, I suggest that you make at least 2 beacons and have them with you at all times. If you find a wreck, go ahead and release that beacon. You can name it wreck or whatever you want to name it. I would definitely recommend that. As far as what to carry with you, always carry 2 water and 2 fish or cooked fish. If you're going to be on a long journey, you can use salt and the fish to create a cured fish, which will last indefinitely. Once you have access to the Cyclops, you will be able to cook whatever you need whenever you want, because you can build a fabricator on it and you're good to go. So if you follow this along right now, you have a good base to start with. Next time we play, the Aurora drive core will explode, which is a beautiful explosion to watch as long as you're a safe distance away. If you're near the Aurora, it kills you instantly. But if you're around the life pod, just stay above the surface and watch the beautiful explosion. It's great. I would not recommend going to explore the Aurora until you have... The sea moth is a good start. You want to have a fire extinguisher, plenty of food, plenty of water. There are enemies on board, so the knife is going to be helpful. I will get into that more once we get closer to it, but you can't explore the Aurora until the drive core explodes. The goal on the Aurora is to get on, explore. There's a lot of technology. There's a lot of stuff that you can find on the Aurora. There's a lot of things you can scan. Pretty much the only place to get the prawn suit is to explore the Aurora. The goal on the Aurora is to repair the engines. You'll need the repair tool to repair those. Once you do that, a couple days later, all the extra radiation in the water disappears. So the water becomes safe. But your first base, I would build far enough away from the Aurora so you don't have to worry about it. When the Aurora drive core does explode, you get the recipe for the radiation suit. But in order to have no radiation issues, you have to wear all 3 pieces, which is the headpiece, the gloves, and the body piece, which means you can't wear the rebreather, which limits your ability to go below 100 meters. So if you build your base far enough away from that, you won't have to wear a radiation suit every time you go into your base. Once you do the drive core and a couple days has passed, the radiation clears up and you can build your base wherever you want. So what I'm saying is, this has been Subnautica, which is one of my favorite survival games. I'm going to wrap the video up here. I'm going to go in and save it. And next time you come with me, I will show you more of the game. We will look at the Aurora explosion. We will explore some of the more deeper terrains now that we have the sea moth. We'll go into the caves, the worm caves, where those worms are, to look for diamonds and magnetite. We will find pieces of the scanner room so that we can build that. That's going to help you a lot. I'll also build a base. We'll get the beacon pieces. I will walk you through a lot of that stuff. I will help you with the game. Because a lot of the lore of the game, kind of like Elden Ring, is it doesn't explain anything or it doesn't hold your hand. So you kind of have to figure this stuff out for yourself. So there is some fun in that. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it for you. I do these videos because I enjoy doing them. I don't get any kind of compensation one way or the other. So I will be doing a lot of different videos going forward. I will go back to my Cult of the Lamb playthrough, which I had started, where I'll go up to part 3. Next Wednesday, I will be doing my continuation of my Elden Ring playthrough, which will be part 3 of that as well. I will also be going forward with my Subnautica playthrough, as you've seen. If anyone is interested in me continuing my XCOM 2 playthrough, I can definitely continue that. If I get enough people who are interested, I will continue the XCOM 2 playthrough. I still have those save files. It's XCOM 2 War of the Chosen, which is really, really difficult, but I will continue that playthrough if somebody wants me to. So I'm going to sign off. This is your boy, Dendra the Gamer. I've enjoyed playing this game and showing it to you, and I hope you've learned something about the game and what it entails. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.